I'm Laura Moore, and I'm one of the Essentials and Foundations tutors of Classical Conversations of Clemson. And I wanted to take a minute and tell you about our program. Now, I just threw quite a few terms at you that you might not be real familiar with, so I was going to take a minute and break those down. First, we call our teachers tutors because we believe that you as the parent are the primary teacher of your child. So when you enroll in CC, you gain structure within flexibility. So you are given material, a framework of material to cover, but you as the teacher decide how you want to do that. You decide how in depth you want to go, and you also get a level of accountability without relinquishing your own authority. So you as the teacher get to make the ultimate decision for your child. Also, I wanted to define the term classical. A lot of you may not be familiar with what classical education is. Within classical education, we try very hard to maximize what the child is really good at, maximize their potential at each stage of development. So in the elementary grades, where they're really good at memorizing, we pour in a lot of facts. Then when they get to the middle school and they're really good at talking, we talk about it. And then in high school, we do more analyzing. So if you think about it, you have to memorize information before you can think about it and before you can form an opinion. So just as an example, in the elementary program, we recently learned several facts about the 1400s. We learned that Prince Henry founded a school of navigation. We learned Gutenberg made his printing press. We learned the Songhai were ruling Africa. Tsar Ivan the Great was ruling Russia. There was the Spanish Inquisition, and then Columbus sailed to the Caribbean. So in the elementary grades, we're just learning the facts. But then with the older elementary grades, we start to think about, how do these facts connect? How did Prince Henry founding his school of navigation affect the people of Africa? How did Gutenberg's printing press help inspire Columbus to make his voyage? And even, how did the geography of Africa play into all of this? And then once children get to high school, that's when they really start analyzing. That's when they really start trying to place value on things. You know, was it good that Prince Henry founded the School of Navigation? Well, to form that opinion, you had to first learn the facts and you had to think about it. You had to mull it over. And I think a lot of us can agree that one of the problems with our current political landscape is people are rushing to form an opinion when they haven't taken the time to learn the facts or to really think about them. So we try not to rush that process. We want to be sure we're pouring facts into our young kids, give them time to think through it and make connections, and then, you know, really be able to analyze it as they get older. Within the Foundations program, so Foundations is what I teach in the morning, we have a 3-cycle structure. Now, I've taught Foundations, this is my 5th year, and I've taught all different grades, and we approach it a little differently depending on the age of the kid, but the information is actually the same. So if you have a child in preschool, you've got a child in 3rd grade, and you've got a child in 5th grade, you can actually cover the same information with all 3 of them, but you're just doing it at a different level of depth depending on the age of your child. So the 3 cycles we have are ancient history, history from the Middle Ages to modern, and then we have a focus on American history, and you can do those cycles in any order. We just finished cycle 1, or we're in the process of finishing cycle 1 now, but you can jump in at cycle 2 or cycle 3. It doesn't actually matter because it loops back around. And ideally, each child would go through each cycle twice. So if you have a child who starts in 1st grade, they'll hit cycle 1, say in 1st grade, and then again in 4th grade. So they have time to learn the material and then have it be reinforced and delve in a little bit deeper. Each year, the kids learn the timeline, which is a whole list of facts from creation all the way through September 11th. So even when my daughter Lindsay was 5, she could tell you the history of the world. Did she understand any of it? No, she did not. But as we've gone through and she's gotten older, we go through each of the cycles, we learn facts about these different things in the timeline. So now she can tell you quite a bit about history. We also learn a list of the US presidents, and I'm telling you, that's the most valuable thing I think I've done in the last 10 years is learn this list of US presidents, because now as I study American history, I can really pull it together. When I hear what different presidents did, I can put them in order in my mind. So each of these little ticks that they're learning is like a peg that you hang information on. So when she hears about stuff in history books, she's like, oh yeah, China's Ming Dynasty, I know just when that was. And she can connect it to other things in her brain. We learn lots and lots of geography in the foundations. By the time kids go through all 3 cycles, they've learned all of the states and capitals. They know every country in North and South America. They know the majority of the countries in Europe, the majority of the countries in Asia, and quite a few of the countries in Africa. So, when you hear about, the big debate right now is the immigration debate, and you sort of wonder as people are talking about it, can they find those countries on a map? As we're talking about people traveling here from other countries, do we know anything about those countries? Do we know where they even are? So having a good foundation of geography is just key to understanding current events, but then also history. And in foundations, we also go through lots of grammar rules. You learn science facts. You learn multiplication tables. We do a little bit of Latin. And then additionally, every week we do a science experiment, and they do either an art project or have a music lesson. And they also get to practice public speaking skills. So these are all things that we do for kids from preschool all the way up through 6th grade. And again, it'll look a little different depending on the age of your child. A presentation, a public speaking skill for a 4-year-old is going to look different than a 6th grader. The other class that I teach is called Essentials. And Essentials is what I teach in the afternoon, and that's a program for 4th through 6th graders. And in there, we really focus a lot on grammar and on writing. So in grammar, we learn how to take a sentence and pull it apart, identify each part of speech, and we diagram a lot. And that really helps kids as they go to learn foreign languages. My older son, who's in CC, is in 7th grade this year, and he's learning Latin. And being able to pull sentences apart and identify their parts of speech is just key. And, learning Latin helps with vocabulary, and it helps with learning any of the other Romance languages. So having a good foundation in grammar is key to learning other languages later on. We also focus a lot on writing. If you were to ask a kid to say, tell me about your favorite sport. My daughter Lindsay loves gymnastics. She might naturally say something like, I like gymnastics. I like doing cartwheels. I'm learning a back handspring. I'd like to learn to do a backflip. Gymnastics is fun. And there was nothing grammatically wrong with what she did. It was a nice little paragraph, but it was very bland. And we take kids systematically through how do you take that and turn it into something that sounds a little bit better? Can you add good adjectives? Can you add better verbs? Can you add adverbs? Can you start a sentence with a preposition? Can you start a sentence with a clause? And so they have a whole checklist of things that they learn to add to their papers, and by the time they're done, they can write a paragraph that sounds really good. And I would argue that good writing skills are probably the key to success later in school, because eventually you're going to have to be writing essays for every class. You've got to be able to express your ideas in an understandable and clear fashion, and that's what we're really trying to teach in Essentials. So I hope you enjoyed my little summary there, and if you have any questions, I would love to talk to you. Thanks.